Picture this. It's late 2013, the peak of the holiday shopping frenzy. And while millions are hunting for deals, a team of cyber criminals is in the middle of pulling off one of the biggest digital heists in history. Their target? Well, it was the personal and financial data of millions of shoppers. This is the story of the Target data breach and how a shockingly simple mistake led to an absolute catastrophe.
I mean, the sheer scale of this thing was just mind-boggling. The personal and financial information of up to 110 million people was compromised. To put that into perspective for you, that's nearly a third of the entire US population at the time. So yeah, this wasn't just a hack, this was a full-blown digital disaster.
And that's exactly why this event is still considered a defining moment in cybersecurity. It was a massive wake-up call for companies absolutely everywhere, proving that nobody was safe and the consequences of a breach could be, well, completely devastating.
All right, so to really get how this all went down, we're going to follow the attacker's trail in 6 parts. We'll start with their surprisingly simple entry point, move through the chaos inside Target's network, see how they hit their massive payday, and finally, look at the critical lessons they left behind.
Okay, so our story kicks off right in the middle of total retail chaos, the 2013 holiday season. Millions of shoppers are flooding into Target stores looking for deals, and nobody has a clue that a sophisticated digital raid is happening right under their noses.
And here's what's so wild about this timeline. The irony is just wow. In September, Target gets certified as compliant with all the big payment card security standards. I mean, they literally have the industry's stamp of approval. And then, just 2 months later, on the eve of Black Friday, the hackers make their move.
So, how did they get in? You might think it was some super complex brute force attack on Target's main servers, right? Nope. The hackers found an entry point that was way more mundane and, honestly, kind of brilliant. Now, to really wrap our heads around their methods, we can use a framework called the intrusion kill chain. Basically, you can think of it like a step-by-step blueprint for a digital heist, breaking down any cyber attack into a series of clear stages.
And this right here shows you the whole idea perfectly. For an attacker to succeed, they have to complete every single stage of this chain, one after the other. But the defender? All they have to do is break the chain at just one of those points. As we're about to see, Target had more than one chance to do just that.
So, you're probably wondering, what was this master key? What was the super sophisticated exploit that took down a multi-billion-dollar corporation? Well, get this. It was a simple phishing email. The entire massive breach started with a fake email sent to a third-party vendor, the company that serviced Target's heating and air conditioning systems. That was it. That was the key.
So here's the play-by-play. The attackers sent a targeted phishing email to an employee at Fazio Mechanical Services. That email installed some malware that just snatched up Fazio's login info for Target's vendor system. And the tragic weak spot in all this? Fazio was using a free version of an anti-malware tool, one that offered no real-time protection. The digital door was just left wide open.
And just like that, with those credentials, the hackers were in. And what they found inside Target's corporate network, well, it wasn't a fortress. It was more like a digital playground with no security guards in sight.
This quote from the security analysts who looked into it, it really says it all. The huge failure here was something called a lack of network segmentation. Basically, there were no digital walls. Once the attackers got into one part of the network, they could roam freely to almost any other part, including the most critical systems.
And this total lack of separation, it was a disaster waiting to happen. The attackers found systems with weak passwords, servers that were missing critical security updates, and, you're not going to believe this, 0 firewalls between the main corporate network and the cash registers. I mean, to give you a sense of just how wide open this was, investigators later found out they could hack a digital deli meat scale and use it to talk to the checkout systems.
So, after waltzing through the network without anyone noticing, the attackers hit the jackpot, the point-of-sale systems. We're talking about the cash registers themselves, the very machines where every single customer's credit card was being swiped.
They used a nasty little piece of malware known as a RAM scraper. So here's how it works. When you swipe your card for just a fraction of a second, that data sits in the cash register's temporary memory, its RAM, before it gets encrypted. This malware was designed to live in that memory and just scrape up that card data in that tiny, unprotected moment.
And get this, for 19 straight days, right through the busiest shopping season of the year, this malware just sat on thousands of cash registers, silently scooping up data with every single swipe. All told, It siphoned off 11 gigabytes of customer information before anyone at Target had any idea what was going on. Okay, and this is probably the most frustrating part of the whole story. Because this breach wasn't just preventable at the start, it was totally stoppable right in the middle. The attack could have been shut down. The alarms were, in fact, blaring.
See, Target had actually shelled out $1.6 million for a fancy, top-of-the-line security system from a company called FireEye. And here's the real kicker. The system? It worked perfectly.
It didn't just spot the malware. It started sending out urgent alerts to Target's security team, flagging the theft while it was happening. The technology did exactly what it was supposed to do.
But nobody did anything. Apparently, the security team was so overwhelmed with alerts that they just dismissed these crucial warnings as false positives. To make matters even worse, there was an automated feature that could have just deleted the malware, but it had been turned off. This was their chance to break the kill chain. The technology worked, but the people failed.
As you can imagine, the fallout was swift and brutal. The CEO and the Chief Information Officer both resigned. Customer trust shattered, and the financial costs just started piling up.
Now, that $18.5 million legal settlement with 47 states was a record at the time. But as you can see here, it was barely a drop in the bucket. The total cost to Target, when you factor in all the tech overhauls, the lawsuits, and the lost sales, it ended up being over $200 million.
So in the end, the Target breach taught the corporate world a really tough lesson. Your security is only as strong as your most overlooked, most seemingly insignificant entry point. It might not be your main server. Sometimes it's the password for your air conditioning guy. And that's why this story forces every single company out there to ask a really simple but kind of terrifying question. Do we really know where our weakest link is?